Hello and welcome to the 100th dev update. That is amazing. And for this dev update, for the first time only ever in the history of Ergo dev updates, we have Kushti himself here with me today. Kushti, how you doing?
Doing well. My pleasure to be here. But yeah, usually I'm saying again during the MA and so. But for the dev update, it's actually just a parent's mine. Uh, uh, to be quite interesting experience, I guess. Yeah, so I'm hosting devs chats since 2020. Like June 2020, I guess, May or June 2020. So they are going regularly for 3 years and a half, even slightly more to the moment. But yeah, it's interesting experience after all to host dev chats, provide updates there. Review the chat you led right just a few days ago. Yeah, let's see how it
Let's
goes.
let's see. So
Going to be interesting to me personally.
all right, so Kushti, typically we have a little, I think it started off slowly about maybe a couple months ago with CW and Joe, maybe 6 months ago, where there's a little bit of a hot topic before we chat about the actual dev updates. And I think it's only fair, since you're here, that you are the hot topic, Kushti. And I know I would like to know a little more about some things about you. So perhaps we tone it down for the dev side of it, and I ask you a few questions um about your history leading into Ergo. So I'd like to start with the big
Um,
question. With a big
yeah,
question, Kushti. With a big question. And the big question is, what made you start and what made you start something like Ergo? What made you actually think, I want to do something different. I want to take this idea and run with it, be part of the co-founders of the core devs of this new project. What was it that triggered your mind like that?
it wasn't a sudden trigger which was triggered. Right. So we worked in IOHK, now IO just right, and we did research stuff there, and we did papers. So I also was familiar to probably all the papers appeared back then. It was 2014, 15, so not so many papers still, but of high quality actually. And there were a lot of proposals in academia, right, but not implemented. And in the wild, there were a lot of altcoins back then with usually just some features. Yeah, usually quite stupid features. So most of those altcoins didn't survive after all. It was quite disturbing, when you have some solid but not often practical ideas in academic papers, because people in academia often disconnected from reality, but maybe
You don't
you
say,
can tell
Kushti.
more about
You
that.
don't say.
All right. Yeah, and at the same time, you have a lot of our internet forums doing bravely some usually some creepy things, right? So the well it would be good after all to have somehow good ground in between, right? So, well, solid ideas, but also connected with reality, right? And resulted in sound design. So that's how ideas were started, and yeah, after actually a few months, maybe so, the was more or less a complete initial design, and then the name appeared. So it was late 2015. 2015. Wait, what was it? No, it was 2016. Yeah, 2016. Sorry, but yeah, some ideas were in circulation since 2015. And then yeah, well, starting from 2017, well, I'm working solely on this, so since like May or June 2017. So that's the story basically, and well, I need to say at some point, well, things got definitely better in reconnecting the world, right? So well, some well, professors let coins appear, such as Algorand, right? Well, Cardano to some degree, and so on. And well, even well, some projects led initially by well, just developers or from folks, so found money to well, also hire researchers, top quality researchers, right? So well, for example, Internet Computer hired a lot of them, but yeah, well, I don't think this is a good project after all, Internet Computer. But anyway, so maybe well, things are better in regard with the problem that I observed back then. But yeah, a lot of new problems we have
And you
now in the space, right?
you funded the start of Ergo by yourself? I mean, you paid for your own time essentially. You
Yeah, so initially, well, yeah, it was my idea, but yeah, we then I invited Anna, right? And well, we discussed ideas, and he proposed some things as well. And yeah, we did coding together. And then yeah, well, we found a little bit of money to hire a couple of developers, and then Morphic joined, but much later in 2018, around that time. And yeah, the story basically.
well, thank you for that, Kushti.
And well, it's amazing to see how it moved, right? So well, from just very small
I bet.
and a pretty centralized team, right, to very diverse. Well, in that's with all the definitions.
Right? Tons of community devs.
And a decentralized team of contributors to core repositories, libraries, wallets, and so on. So, well, actually, we didn't predict even anything like that, because yeah,
Really?
I mean, we
So you're already
didn't think.
beyond your expectations. Because
Yeah,
that
maybe
was
because there were no any expectations to be honest.
well, that was my next question, Kushti. What do you consider and it can be in stages as well. I mean, what would you consider it to be Ergo successful?
I don't know. So, there were no any talks even about that. So we just did some proper things, and that's it. So.
So you started with extremely low expectations and you're pleasantly surprised. That's a good way to manage your expectations, Kushti.
Yeah, but so it was just about few developers, and yeah, probably everyone was too busy to spend time on expense. Just that's it. So yeah, it's actually quite how it and sort of the current state, and well now it's probably what to talk about expectations and so on, right? But before the mainnet launch, yeah, well, we're just busy, right? And so, well, yeah, it was purely developers product with all the advantages and just all that.
All right. Well, that's interesting. Um, let's move on to another question I have. So a lot of people miss this in chats, but you do a lot of focus on things like providing interest-free and uncollateralized or not interest-free but uncollateralized loans to I think Kenya right now. You're running a raffle to fundraise that for 2,600 ERG, I believe. And the idea is, at least I read in the raffle, that you're going to distribute some good things, DAO tokens, so that people can start to make group decisions on where these donations go.
Yeah, and well, what to do with repayments, because loans are interest free, right? But well, my wallet is already getting repayments from all the loans. I guess there's any defaults
So your goal is to have
yet. So
your, your goal is to have a essentially a treasury of funds that go out and come back in, don't gain anything, hopefully not lose anything by non-repayment, and just be able
yeah,
to manage that with a
well,
DAO.
the idea is just to have some circular money flow, right, and to spend on well, providing interest-free loans, right, to people like our Kenyan friends, and yeah, it's interesting. So I'm going to visit that at some point, but well, yeah, we're discussing some things with them, and well, they already know how to use multi-sig wallet, for example, right? Just some Kenyan
The
can do
initiative
that.
does. The Kenyan initiative knows how to use multi-sig.
Yeah, so for funds control, yeah, they're using some multi-sig. So it's kind of cooperative, right? But they have how to call it, elders, something like that, right? As usually in all
Can
those
you,
informal
how do they
structures. And
how do they convert the funds that you give them in crypto to whatever their currency is to be able to spend it? Or are they actually are they actually utilizing the currency to give to a provider to be able to get what they need in tangible items? Is it ever leaving cryptocurrency, or is it staying as cryptocurrency for where they distribute it among themselves?
yeah, so it's quite interesting question, right? Because it's not about some big city, even like Nairobi. Yeah, so it's some small county, not small actually, the largest county. But yeah, it's about villages and small towns only there. And well, yeah, it's a border line count nearby South Sudan, Uganda, the Ethiopia. Yeah, well, I don't know if you know, but there was still war in Ethiopia, and yeah, like endless wars now in Sudan. So a lot of refugees, and um, not the easiest, right? Uh, Having developed infrastructure, so on. So, in regards with on ramp off ramp, so surprisingly, they have quite accessible from my understanding. USDT cashing out possibilities there, right? Even there. So yeah, well, it's not a surprise. Probably, as far as I know, well, USDT is everywhere in Middle East and Egypt, but yeah, now, it's deep Africa, let's say.
So do you envision?
Right, but they need to get USDT, right? So we provide security, and then I suggested an option to go to USDT immediately by using uh, uh, 7 Cs, I guess, right? USDT to a security pair. They're using still bigger ranges, and so going from CQSD to ERC, and from ERC to USDT, right? It's so convenient, probably road.
Do you?
Hopefully, yeah, in future, CQs USDT conversion options would be more accessible,
Well,
and that would be helpful. So that's allow to reserve a few percent
would it
of
not be
funds.
more beneficial and maybe more mainstream in the future to be able to, whoever this initiative is that you're working with in Kenya, to not only group up with people asking for loans, but group up with um, people providing services and goods as well. So let's say somebody is taking out a loan to buy livestock or buy equipment. The people that actually sell the equipment and the livestock are also part of this initiative. So the ergs that you send them as part of the loan never have to leave the state of the ergs. So essentially, it goes to the person borrowing, and that person transfers the erg to the store owner or the livestock provider or the equipment provider. And then there's less of conversions to USDT, and you're actually using those ergs for direct transfer back and forth between store and client kind of thing.
Even more with chain cash, for example, so it's possible why it's Ergo to cooperative, and it can mint its own rights backed by those reserves. But chain cash is not quite ready, and after that we can consider proper options.
Yeah.
There is a pal of mine, Will Reich, living in Kenya for more than a decade, and he's doing a lot of experiments with local currencies and so on. Using blockchain as well. So I'm tweets about his experience.
So do
Uh,
the do,
well,
do
quite.
do the borrowers in Kenya ever know that they're borrowing crypto, or are they just getting their currency from the organization that is getting that loan from you?
Yes, the borrowing just used, right. This cooperative is converting USDT to USDB, well, directly to shillings, and then providing shillings USD. I don't know details. It's denominated USD after all, which was also well, causing some issues by 2022 because, well, shilling was not that stable against USD as well. Most of African and not only currencies. There is also this problem of conversion from USD to Kenyan shillings, right? Because, well, people there are using shillings after all for doing payments mostly.
Yeah, I think it's I think it'd be really neat if you never had to leave, of course, the blockchain there. Whereas, as I said, the provider that you deal with could onboard several service companies that would be willing to accept payment in these forms of crypto, and then you could just go straight crypto to crypto. Um, yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's a shame you have to off ramp, that's for sure. Hopefully, there'll be a time soon where off ramping isn't necessary and you can just exchange peer to peer digital cash instead.
Yeah, so well, it would be good maybe to use something like chain cash, right, in local economies, because after all, if most of exchanges, right, most of economic activity is local, then mutual credits clearing would happen quite often, right? That means that community can do more economic activity with the same amount of money injected, right? So yeah, that's why, for example, local currencies often beneficial in rural places. So Will Radic even made some calculations. So he compared, providing charity as is, right? So just giving, just buying and giving some goods, for example, and tools and so on, right? To communities in need. With using the same amount of money as a reserve back in local currencies. And upon his observations in Kenya, so the latter option is much more efficient. So I've forgotten concrete numbers, but maybe it's like 10 or 20 times more efficient, right? So I mean more efficient in terms of economic activity volume, right? So volume of exchanges. Because after all, what you are interested in is amount of total volume of exchanges, right, within community, which is allowing to employ more people, right, produce more goods, so making life better.
Kushti, are you at a stage where you need more help with that kind of stuff if people are interested in helping, or is the only way that they can help right now to donate to that raffle and be a holder of the Good Things token DAO and express their help through that initiative?
Yeah, so with DAOs, there is also another interesting aspect, right? So, it's also kind of charity after all, right? So you are providing funds without getting them back maybe, but you can get them back, right? After all, if there are no defaults, why not? Now you also have transparency, right? So And you can reuse funds, right? So, interest-free loans is a big deal because, loans are very expensive there. And yeah, so as a charity, you are getting money back, so you can provide more loans, right? So you can do way more activity, right, with the same amount of money. But also with DAO, there is also control, right? So then we can consider those DAOs as a future of charity after all, right? So instead of some organizations, you just give money and then trust they will spend those money in a way they promise. So now, you participate in a charity cooperative, let's say, which is directly working right with African cooperatives.
And the amazing thing about it being on crypto, Kushti, is that you can have initiatives where you encourage projects in dApps to put an automatic percentage into the treasury of this DAO. So, you could say, hey, Spectrum, can you commit to 2.2% or 0.5% of all transaction fees or DEX fees to go to this Kenyan initiative or this DAO for charity? And then you could offer like a stamp on their website that says part of our funds go to that. So that's I think that's an offer of crypto and instant kind of funding and donations that you can't get in real world scenarios.
Right, and if there are no many defaults there, so you can do also quite interesting things. So you can, for example, provide interest-free loans to farmers cooperatives, right? But then you can spend repayments in different ways, right? So you can develop maybe more tools, right? Well, you can spend those repayments on different matters, right? So like improving DAO tooling, for example, right? I don't know.
Kushti, would your chain cash, the way you explain chain cash working in these scenarios, can you help me out here? So could you, instead of having the person borrowing the money repay back to the DAO treasury, couldn't they develop some sort of note and pass it on to somebody who's next in line for a loan? So essentially, the payment never comes back to the treasury. It just keeps on getting passed along to the next people in line that would like to take out a loan. Could you use chain cash for that somehow?
Yeah, but yeah, so nodes are essentially debt nodes, right? So a node is kind of IOU, transferable IOU, right, instrument. Then yeah, so you can just mint nodes, right, and provide to farmers, let's say, for example, to a shop owner, right, and then it will buy, for example, spent on construction works, and then workers can spend on something, right? How they can they can spend to buy I don't know what, petrol maybe, and then petrol station workers owner can spend in shop, right?
Yep.
And then you have closed loop, and then
That's fascinating. That's amazing. Um, Awesome. All right, let me close out the intro session, the chat session with one last question for you, and you can make it as brief as possible. I know you said earlier that you had zero expectations for Ergo when you first started building it. You were just some devs working on an amazing thing that you thought was cool. Um, do you have any expectations for where Ergo is going in the next few years?
Now probably yeah, after a few years. So there are some things which can be certainly predicted, right? I guess. So in the first place, Ergo is a future of proof of work, right? Without any doubt. Simply because there are no competitors doing anything creative, right? So, in the first place, we don't have many new proof of work cryptocurrencies, right? And even for once we have, they are not doing anything creative, in my opinion, are doing not enough to solve problems
In real world, yeah.
Bitcoin has, right? So, if it's kind of digital gold, right? Some instruments with long-term stability, then its mining industry also should be stable, right? And then, Ergo is seriously working on fixing issues which are clear from Bitcoin experience, starting with storage rent and so on. All right, so I think with time, in this regard, Ergo will shine more and more. Peer-to-peer finance and stable DeFi in general, right? So, unlike Ethereum, Solana, so on, so still no crazy hacks, and contracts are quite simple mostly. So there are some hiccups for sure, as always, but yeah, nothing as painful as Ethereum hacks, right? And
Yeah.
that's why I guess TVL is already quite high, so it's like 15%, right, of the total supply. And it's a bit concerning, even maybe in the long term. Well, it could be concerning because, with very high TVL, I don't know, maybe we will see some new unexpected issues, right? With
I mean, with price appreciation.
when there are no enough free ergs
Mhm.
in circulation, right, then you can have a lot of different issues with price going into spiral, right? I don't
But it,
know.
but it's
Maybe for some DeFi tools, it would be not
Yeah, I don't think for some DeFi tools like your
good.
loans, I mean, it's a dollar to dollar essentially. So instead of sending 5 ergs, you're sending 0.5 ergs essentially. But I get you with when if price spirals like that, it's hard to you don't want to get like Ethereum. I don't understand how people can't grasp that to use a tool like Ethereum for an actual financial digital cash replacement. It's I don't understand how people don't see that as impossible with with how the system works there. And Ergo really makes that clear when you look at the differences between the two things, how Ergo can be used as a financial tool for that. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but for example, if 90% of total supply is locked, right, then volatility would be quite high, right? So, and if the price is in spiral, uh, then there would be many
perhaps
unexpected consequences probably. So, for example, why to print stable coins, right? If prices always going up because almost everything is locked up. Then yeah, it's not that good, right, for stable coins and so on, and even for loans. So for example, if you have 1,000 ERGs, right, and well, the price is going up because it's precious resource, right? Then why, for example, to borrow with using those ERGs as collateral today, if tomorrow you can borrow more, for example, right?
Sure.
Just because collateral is going up in price all the time. So but yeah, let's see. So well,
I wonder if
it's
at that point
controlled, right, at this point.
but
Anyhow.
I wonder if at that point you could develop something, seeing as how it works and with your experience with things like Gort and buyback contracts with auction coin and those kind of things. I wonder if you could develop some sort of token that its primary goal was to fight those curves and spikes so that something happened with a method of selling and buying back and interfering with the liquidity to be able to have a token that no matter the price of ergs, this token is typically worth a similar value and much less it smooths out those spikes kind of thing. I wonder if something like that could be developed, more of a stable coin, but not really.
Yeah, so it's not stable, but yeah, it's a stabler option, right?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, so it's quite of, let's say, proto-stable coin. So actually, Bruno well had a lot of thoughts on that. He well, so sorry. Yeah, so he even yeah, I actually don't know. Can I say about
Oh, you're
such
not allowed
things?
to talk about it. No, you don't have to. It's okay.
No, so yeah, well, some things I personally from him in private, but yeah, let's say so. He made a different proposal for existing cryptocurrencies, right, on how to make them more stable. And well, actually, there are some papers on that, so it's well, not a big secret that such proposals exist. So well, yeah, that's actually how HODL coin appeared, right? So Bruno actually had a lot of thoughts on how to do not a stable coin, but something more stable, right, than volatile cryptocurrencies of today. Let's say, so how to have a design which is enforcing some stability, right?
Or at
And
least smoothing out the curve. Yeah, yep.
yeah, well, during his experiments, yeah, HODL coin idea appeared, as well as some more ideas yet to be implemented.
That's what I love about Ergo. This stuff, you don't have this kind of stuff, and at least that I know of in other ecosystems. That's really
Yeah,
neat.
and so here, so me, Bruno, I don't know, maybe some other folks as well. So they're pushing for well, seeing well, monetary nature, right, of things in the first place. Well, not just, I don't know, creating crazy tokenomics without any idea how that could work, like was done in Luna, for example, right?
Yeah,
Luna and Anchor. So, well, theoretically, it was flowed since day one. But yeah, anyway, pushed to production and then hyped and so on. So yeah, well, here's a little bit different approach, but yeah, well, anyway, so well, we have theories and then we have reality, and
hmm
well, sometimes they diverge. So yeah, well, about going back about growing TVL. Let's see how that goes. So currently, well, TVL is at 15%, not that much, but yeah, I think after, I don't know, maybe 40 or 50%. So well, some interesting consequences uh, will be seen. But yeah, that's just wild guess. So let's see.
I'm sure we'll have a retrace a little bit at 50% TVL. People will start unlocking and spending that profit there.
Well,
It's gotta be some number there.
that's also interesting, right? Maybe yes. So maybe there is some equilibrium here,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's hard to say. So
Well, we'll
let's
just
see.
have to try to hit it, Kushti.
Let's see. Yeah. So well, it's always interesting. And yeah, well, here for DeFi, proof of work is definitely better to me. Because, well, with proof of work, so, well, crypto economic problems like bribing attacks and so on, well, at least known, right, and known for many years. But with proof of stake, so you have staking versus DeFi profitability issue, and well, with growing TVL and so on. And well, yeah, so consensus related crypto economic issues are not well known for proof of stake even yet. So, well, it's uncharted area, and well, with proof of work, it's a little bit more clear, probably, at least theoretically, how things would work. Well, in regards with consensus. But how will DeFi landscape work with high TVL? Yeah, it's uncharted area. So, well, we will
We'll
see.
have to see. Yeah. All right, with that Kushti, let's dive into the dev update. What do you say?
Yeah, let's jump on
All right.
the update.
It looks like we have somebody named Kushti first. Why don't you take Kushti's Kushti?
Kushti, yeah. Let's start with what? Ergo protocol R&D. So you want me to cover myself?
It's all you, sir. You take yourself. I wouldn't do it justice like you would.
All right. So, well, let me do maybe that in short. So, and actually, there are some things happened after the devs chat, so let me cover them as well.
Perfect.
For Ergo protocol R&D and reference client development. So, well, currently 5.19 is under review. So I need to manually test it a bit, and then it will be released next week. So it's mostly a release with fixes and small improvements, but also there will be support for bundles for release bundles for different platforms. Well, I need to test still, so there will be ready-made binaries published. Let's see how it goes.
You mean like executables and apps?
Yeah, well, I don't know whether to publish binaries, but yeah, at least it will be possible to, well, do
Wow,
them. Uh,
that's exciting.
Yeah, and then well, Sigma interpreter, so smart contracts interpreter, basically. A new version is ready and will be released in coming days. And well, it's also mostly about refactoring and so on. But yeah, there is one important feature there which will allow to know whether a contract is using blockchain context, basically. So, for example, whether a contract is using block height or timestamp of last block, or well, whatever could be changed from block to block, right? And then it will allow to do certain nice optimizations in the node. Right. So, for example, if a contract is not dependent on blockchain context, then all the inputs of a transaction not dependent on blockchain context, then you can validate this transaction only once, right? Well, in the memory pool initially. For example, and then further checks could be skipped, right? So when you see the same transaction in a block, so it's already validated and there is no need for revalidation. And well, as most of transactions are not using blockchain context, then yeah, that means reducing actually a lot during block validation, significantly reducing it. Right, what else is there? Yeah, well, subblocks and well, sidechain. So I'm currently doing documents on possible sidechains instantiation. So well, how to do mixing, for example, any sidechain, which would be good. In particular, as mixing creating a lot of bloat on the blockchain when it's used extensively. And well, chain cache. So well, there is motivation to use sidechain for chain cache to avoid paying fees in Ergo, right? Which could be not very convenient for people in Kenya. After all, so maybe it would be better to use some alternative options for fees and yeah, having fast transactions there.
Is there a way to have a privacy side chain where as long as the input, as long as the input back into rollup is equal to the output from down to the chain, then it allows it to go through kind of thing, but you don't see any things on the other
Yeah,
side?
so for mixing sidechain, yeah, I'm considering enforcing privacy, right? So, well, to send funds to the sidechain, you have to send them to a stealth address, right? And then the only thing you can do on the mixing sidechain is to mix, right? Or to withdraw to the main chain. And yeah, that's it. So it's, yeah, privacy sidechain, basically. With recipient privacy, right? So when you send from main chain to side chain, you have to send to a stealth address, right? Which is preserving recipient privacy. And then, yeah, the only thing you can do on side chain is, well, to mix and then to withdraw. Yeah, so I'm considering other possible options, like to have a sidechain with two contours, let's say. So UTXO and EVM, right? So you can send from main chain UTXO to sidechain UTXO, but then from sidechain UTXO you can only send back to main chain, or yeah, well, funds contracts, EVM contracts, right? So well, by that you can do kind of EVM sidechain maybe. To run Ethereum contracts, I'm not sure it's a good idea. So to run Ethereum contracts, even in a sidechain. But yeah, I mean, as a kind of writing, why not? And there could be more options. So what I'm also thinking about, but yeah, don't have time for write-up, maybe later. So, as proof of work is well, quantum secure, right? So, well, it will exist in a post-quantum world as well, without harsh consequences, without threats from quantum computers.
Kushti, what's the
Unlike proof of stake. Yeah, sorry.
what's the method? Are you building the sidechain framework so that all the sidechains, whether it be a sidechain for mixing, whether it be a sidechain for subblocks, whether it be a sidechain for EVM contract execution, will they all utilize the same framework that for however rewards are being paid out for running and powering those sidechains?
So, that's actually necessary, right? So different sidechains can have a different emission content after all. Well, what will be in my writing? So currently I'm looking a option for chain cache sidechain only because tokenomics is well, a primary component there. Right, because well, the motivation for chain cache sidechain is about avoiding fees and Ergo, right? And then you have to do some custom tokenomics essentially. But yeah, for other sidechains, yeah, I don't know yet what could be a but yeah. And why it's needed in particular, it's needed for subblocks, right? Because for subblocks, developers need show. There is a need to reward miners to work on longest subblocks chain with no double spannings, right, in it. So side chains need to enforce linearity of transactions history, right? So if some transaction is included, it couldn't be rolled back then. And yeah, the miner then have some dilemma, right? Whether to preserve this linearity in subblocks and so get rewards from what? From sidechains, right? Which are enforcing that. Or to get maybe more on-chain fees, right? For double spending transactions, if double spending transaction is paying more, right? And yeah, it makes sense to consider rewarding seriously here, right? Because if we are not going to modify the consensus protocol, I'm not a big fan of such an option, then yeah, this security is needed to be considered seriously. All right. Yeah, let's jump on chain cache. Right, I made a document to implement local exchange trading system on top of chain cache. So local exchange trading system is basically local currency system for community where people freely issue debt notes, right? And debt notes which I'm issuing and I'm paying with to you is recognized by the whole community, right? So then it's not kind of IU node, but IUC node, IO community, right? Such systems are quite popular in rural places in times of crisis. So, for example, in Argentina in 2001, there were 800,000 members of different LED systems. And yeah, well, chain cache is a bit different kind of monetary system, right? But yeah, it's allowing for implementing LEDs on top of it, and so I made a document on how to do that, and well, also modified contracts to support mutual credit sharing, right? And also considered finally so Oracle notes are denominated in grams of gold. There is need to reward oracles, right, for stability of the system to preserve this stability, because without incentivizing oracle, the security of chain cache is also compromised potentially. Yeah, so the ops the sets in Dexy, so well parts of fees during not redemption going to gold buyback contract, right? And so now Dexy and chain cache contracts to have this buyback option, and next time I'm going to review Gleon contracts and well consider wording oracles there. So for Dexy, currently there are deposit and swaps transactions done successfully with modified Spectrum backend. So there is a need to now modify it a bit further to support redemptions. But yeah, we are going to deploy a UI in parallel to well play with deposits and swaps, right? This is already quite good, and yeah, with redemption upon testing. And so Dex is well closer to testing at the moment, as well as Gleon. So LGD reviewed contracts. And beta testnet UI by SunGit is ready. And well, there is ongoing discussion about naming. So, well, Gleon is just the name of the protocol, right? But concrete instantiation would be called differently. So, well, the initial idea was to call it Sigma Gold, but yeah, a lot of other options also discussed right now. All right, so enough. Let's jump to the next update.
All right, let's
Yeah,
see.
so yeah, Sigma 5014 covered. So Paideia, right? By Louis Watra. So it's getting custom DAOs, and maybe now it's your turn to
Not
cover it.
yet. I see. He's still got a
Are you
bug. He's still got a
testing it?
bug there. No, he's still got a bug. He hasn't given us the tokens, so he's waiting for that. He's waiting to fix his front end bug, I think, before he hands out the tokens.
All right, but anyway, we are close, it seems,
We're
right?
close. We're
Yeah,
close.
so Louis Watra created DAOs for Rosen Guards and Sigma nodes. And yeah, so I'm having plan to create Good Things DAO after Kenyan cooperative fundraising. And yeah, so 3 DAOs from the start. It's quite good, right? And there would be more, definitely. So I remember there were Ergo hack projects back in 2021, such as Co-Living DAO. Do you remember that?
No.
Co-Living DAO. So some guys, I don't know, from UK probably had an idea to, well, tokenize common ownership of co-living and so on. So now, yeah, well, they can use Paideia, right, to manage.
I should ask my wife if she wants to do DAO for our home ownership. See how that works out.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, sounds interesting, right? well, let's see. All right, next, Captain Nemo. So
Machine of Finance, right? Isn't that supposed to be pretty neat coming up?
machine of finance. Yeah, well, as far as I know, contracts are finalized right there, and yeah, Captain Nemo is working on off-chain unit tests. Right, and Nautilus, it seems, is getting support for signing arbitrary messages, right? So with your keys, after adding such a feature, you can sign not just transactions, but also, well, arbitrary messages, which could be quite useful for many protocols.
I'm
And
really excited about this. I'm really excited. It'd be amazing to open up your, click on your Nautilus wallet and see a little inbox indicator that somebody wants to buy my Kushti NFT or my Joe NFT or something like that. Instead of having to go all the way to auction house and doing that, you could just go right there after that, and it's really neat.
Yeah, but also, well, it's would be possible to prove wallet ownership, right?
Mm.
So, well, as happened in Bitcoin, for example, that's a drama with Satoshi wallet ownership, right? Some signature provided by that scammer, Craig, right? Yeah, Craig, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah, so now, yes, such things also doable. Will be doable on Ergo, right, after releasing arbitrary data
Very cool.
signing feature.
Can you explain to me the um are you familiar with Muesli Swap when it first came out on the Cardano side? How it did book orders of things? It was a book order dex for a little while before they did an AMM dex.
I'm not very
So
familiar.
how with grid trading on the machine of finance side, is
Yeah.
that simply a contract based peer-to-peer trading spot where even it can take partial contracts too. So if I want to swap 100 erg for 60 or for 150 sig USD, I can put that order in and it will fill it using partial contracts. Even if some people have 50 and 50 and 50 and 50, it'll take maybe 2/3 of the third one and the full two of the
Oh,
first one. Is that how the trading is going to work on that on machine of finance, or?
yeah, about partial execution, I'm not sure. Maybe not even because, usually your orders are executed against AMM pool, right? And then, yeah, well, partial execution is not that big deal. Especially in context of grid trading, right? Because, you create a lot of pretty small orders, right? Basically to catch mempool right on the way. So when price is changed in mempool, right? So you execute all the orders on the way. But what's good? Here with decentralized grid trading, so you just create your grids, right? So you just create a bunch of orders, and then you can forget about it, and then some bots will do trading for you, right? Like centralized exchange is doing. But now, yeah, it's purely on blockchain, so without some greasy scammers, right?
Mm.
Like centralized exchange owners, and without hackers and yeah, all that stuff surrounding centralized exchanges.
Okay.
Berg updated ErgoNotes.net. And there also was message from him, from yesterday, January 12th, that he's going to work on a new Satergo wallet release.
Oh,
As
nice.
last release was many months ago,
Yeah,
actually.
last release was Ergo Pay, I think, right?
Yeah, so that was midsummer probably, right? So now, well, it's quite old. So yeah, he's going to work on it.
He's
Yeah.
doing I think he's doing the snapshot options, right? So you can do a Nipapow or snapshot option for when you fire up Satergo. Is that his new
Uh,
release?
I need to check. So there were no details, but
I think that's what he had in that's what he did for Ergo Hack Kushti. So I imagine
yeah,
that's his next release.
yes. So yeah, indeed, he did that. So yeah, probably then we can expect that in next release. But I don't know about other features there. Um, yeah, maybe he will provide more details in follow-up devs chat. Oh, Comet, maybe you can cover it.
Oh, I get to cover comment. Thanks, Kushti.
So I think a lot of Degen stuff there, right? We can skip.
Lots of Degen stuff. Yeah, he's got liquidity on Spectrum, liquidity on MinSwap, for
We see
RS Comet and Husky pairs. Yeah, yeah. They had a VC offer, which is super greasy and Degen. They're after careful consideration and community input, they declined. I think it was like for 50 million Comet or something huge, something like that. And they figured out that it would be impossible to protect themselves from being dumped on, so they decided not to do it.
All right.
They're
And the whale didn't get wrecked even.
yeah.
All right.
Flying Pigs got that airdrop thing that they're using to reward Comet liquidity providers. They also use that tool to give Comet to people that are coming over the Rosen Bridge, which is pretty neat. Um, and they're proposing some rewards for each million of Comet locked. The plan's still under consideration and not finalized. Giving away a lot of Comet there, Kushti. Kushti, are you a Comet whale?
Somehow, yes. So, I bought actually a lot of Comet because it was cheap. So I used it to tip people.
How much you got, Kushti? How much Comet do you have?
Oh, I need to check actually. But yeah, well, I remember I tipped people not so far ago with like 200K Comets at once. Yeah, maybe even 500,000 sometimes. But yeah, now it's quite. It's going to be quite expensive tipping, right? And
Yeah,
yeah,
we're gonna have to find another token to test on mainnet with, Kushti.
yeah, well, you need to find another cheap token then to just tip people. But yeah, well, Comet is not that cheap anymore, right? To tip
Yeah,
people.
200,000 Kushti. That means you're tipping people $32. That's a decent tip.
Oh, 32. And
32
well,
bucks.
yeah, and well, I easily tipped I easily made like five tips or 10 tips a day like that. So like $300 a day with current price. Yeah. But yeah, well, I remember when ERC was at 20 cent, so I tipped a lot of ERC as well, right? And well, once I received like 800 ERC tip at once.
Wow.
And yeah, it was 20 cent, and just 1 year probably after that, it was at $20. But I tipped it back like in 2 days or 3 days.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, and
Very nice.
well, for Comet, I need to check. So well, I guess in some hot wallet and tipping wallet, there are millions of Comet because yeah, well, it was dirty cheap, right? It was good for tipping, not anymore.
Yes.
All right. GuapSwap.
What about
Uh,
GuapSwap?
yeah,
Yeah.
so it seems, yeah, they're doing tests, right, and doing UI. Oh, brainstorming what to do in UI. So it seems, yeah, the progress is with backend mostly, and they are going to UI part soon. And well, it's interesting that they did a multi-token swap test transaction, a three-way swap with 60% CQSD, 20% 20% epost, 20% SPF.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I'm actually interested in details
So,
with that.
so I want to make a correction. I think during the AMA, Dan had mentioned people who created GuapSwap, and I reached out to LGD, and LGD had said that yes, those people were on the they were part of the team, but LGD was the original coder of GuapSwap and still continue on now. So just that correction from the AMA I'd like to do for LGD. Pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
so yeah, LGD is original founder, right? So I
Yeah.
believe it was LGD and some other guy who initially presented GuapSwap during some Ergo hack.
I remember. I think I watched that video back from then. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, it was Luca, LGD, and some other guy probably, but I've forgotten the second guy's name. Nice. All right, then yeah, AP44, I need to review it and merge.
So that's the liquid phase from THC keeps cranking along. Working on the front end some more. Researching using Sigma Rust C bindings to speed up the binding development. And he's researching a Chronos timekeeper oracle where he would include timestamps and random numbers for each reporting blockchain in a blocking report. I think I can't remember what he was saying about that, but he wants to be able to offer that to other chains as well, I think was the idea.
Yeah, and the ErgoNames is actually interesting. So it's yeah, an alternative to ErgoScript language. Well, similar to OCaml. To write contracts on Ergo. Well, I'm personally interested in Lisp-like option because, well, it would be compiled down, translated down to Ergo tree trivially. All right, Rosen Bridge.
That's a big one. It's got two.
Yeah, it's three parts message. Yeah, there will be another third one. Also, but yeah, so it's mostly about
There's some social stuff up here. Yeah.
fixes, and small improvements. So yeah, that's understandable because, well, currently a lot of watchers, right, is testing Rosen Bridge, and well, a lot of fixes to do at this
I don't
point.
think we've had a drop in watchers yet, Kushti. I've been waiting for the Cardano side to drop a watcher or two so that I can join in there, but it's holding steady at 77.
Yeah, and yeah, so for fix and so on. So yeah, well, my prediction is that we will see, well, a week or two more fixes, right? Fixes on the messages probably. And then yeah, so some new stuff. Well, at this point, probably, yeah, well, they're polishing all the things, and
Yeah.
well, with pretty big stack, yeah, I imagine that there are a lot of things to fix,
Yep.
to
Yep.
polish. All right, some discussions, yeah, let's keep it, yeah, cross compilation to Scala 3. So developers chat, yeah, third part, you see. Yeah, so fixes also.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, scroll down.
Oh, we got MG Pi with ErgoNames.
Yeah, ErgoNames, it's looking interesting. Good UI progress. So there is even some UI that's good. And well, indexer. So yeah, it seems off-chain part and UI is now in progress. So we can assume that contracts are more or less finalized then. And HODL Comet, HODL ADA. Oh, so you see, so it's not
Kushti.
just It's not. Oh, so I already made initial review on Thursday. So yeah, well, we need to check carefully a few things still from my observations. But yeah, maybe even next week the first contracts of HODL Comets could be launched. And yeah, so it's the same HODL token contract for different tokens. So then yeah,
So you
immediately after HODL Comet you can launch more, like HODL Ada I see here. And I'm thinking about high level financial degeneracy, like launching HODL auction coin, something
oh
like
gosh.
that. HODL Seeker SV, something like that,
So
right?
these contracts are kind of universal where you can plug in a token and go from
Yeah,
there.
so you're just injecting new token ID to existing contract, HODL token to contract, and that's it. So yeah, that means the financial degeneracy on steroids, right? So so you can do HODL option for any token in existence. Well, in minutes potentially, right? So,
Yeah.
well, with some flexible auto-generated UI, you can have HODL token generator, right? So just put ID and maybe attach logo, right, and get another HODL
Sounds like the
token
perfect
website.
recipe for meme season, Kushti.
HODL token, yeah, website, and yeah. And well, after all, so all this HODL and so on, so they well, increasing ErgTVL, right? Because well, even yeah, I'm not sure about HODL Comet, but well, auction coins, well,
Well, all that creases TVL, Kushi, because you have to exchange ERG necessarily for Comet. So you're not locking your ERG, but you're putting your ERG in the liquidity and then taking Comet and putting it in the Comet hold. So essentially, you are soft locking more ERGs by spending it in the liquidity pool.
yeah, and there is another aspect, right? So when you are swapping ERG for Comet, so you are increasing LP APY, right? So ERG to Comet LP. You are making it more attractive, and so you're incentivizing people to put liquidity there, basically ERG and Comet, right?
Right, right.
And yeah, so well, ERG is anyway everywhere in the DeFi, right? Even if it's not directly
Yep.
used, right, in certain operations, so it's well, this operation is incentivizing something else where ERG is involved, right? Such as LP, for example.
Yeah.
All right, NetSpore. So it's a new application announced just before the new year. And yeah, so well, it's some desktop application which is combining data from Ergo blockchain and markets. So currently KuCoin API, sorry. And yeah, well, I haven't tried it yet, but it seems it can do some charts on your desktop, right? And yeah, well, could be interesting, right? To traders at least. I don't know.
It, it looks like it was gonna be released yesterday. But I don't see the PDF is
CKUSD
removed.
option for Ergo markets. So I need to try it. Maybe it's some single interface for centralized exchanges and also DEX, something like that. And then it's could be interesting, right? So well,
Yeah, I'm
you can
looking at
just
GitHub right now, and they did release it yesterday. So there's an executable in a jar that you can run to do it. So pretty cool. I might have to try that.
yes. Well, maybe you can just use single desktop application, right, for everything. Uh,
Let's see,
Looking
is
good.
that it? No, we got BroserBros.
So a guy is willing to
What is he doing?
translate website into Turkish.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Which is quite amazing because, the community is huge there in Turkey, and local exchanges like BTC Turk, for example, is doing advertising aggressively. So, Istanbul airport back in August was covered by BTC Turk advertisements very aggressively. So, like BTC Talk everywhere in the airport.
Okay.
All right.
We've
That's
got a
more or less
bunch
it.
of, I think that's it,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. Let me check my
What you
notes.
got for notes? Any additional ones?
Yeah, so I also checked different channels and so on. GuapSwap, but yeah, it seems we've covered everything. So yeah, including Gleon, latest Dexia update. So there was updates from Thursday, so after the dev start and so on. So yeah, quite good update. Dev
Yeah.
update.
That was very in depth. It was good to have you here, Kushti, and get that view of the core dev of Ergo on all the changes of everybody. Um, um, what do you have for any closing words, Kushti, that you want to leave people with for today?
Yeah, so I'm actually thinking, and maybe it's a good time to propose also to have some maybe less regular updates from, I don't know how to call people which are doing different financial experiments on the blockchain, like issuing options for HODL ERC and so on. You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, people which are doing different financial Legos. With CW and you, I guess, right? We've covered using Sigma 5, for example, right, for leverage trading.
Mm-hmm.
And so on. So then yeah, maybe it would be good to somehow collect different experience, right, from different people, and maybe doing updates sometimes, like
Are you saying like
uh
maybe like a community update video of
like a map.
utilizing certain things? Like here's what we've done on Signify, or here's what is offered on Signify, and here's what you can get on Sigma O and those kind of things. More like a community driven thing to bring awareness to that kind of thing by actually utilizing it. Is that what you're pointing towards?
Yeah, like adventures in DeFi jungle, let's say.
Look
Yeah, so
Oh,
maybe it's time to finish,
it
right?
might be time. That might be our curtain call there. She's putting the
Uh,
dog in its little cage.
um,
So
uh,
so so that would be interesting. That'd be interesting to have kind of a financial game, not games, but a financial um episode of these kind of inner workings and how it's and what's happening and what's going on, and maybe crazy loans that are offered. Like what's it, that 150 125,000 Rosen loan, or Rosen ADA on Signify. What is that? I can't remember. Let's see.
all
Uh,
right.
right, what is it? It's 125,000 Rosen ADA loan that's still sitting there on Signify. And it's interesting because it's 10% interest, right? But people, might think, hey, if I just, is it worth the trouble to come across the bridge, pay the fee to collect this 10% interest, where I could just sit here and possibly collect 4% or 5% staking rewards from ADA kind of thing. So it's interesting factors that are in play here. I wonder if the person who made the loan was thinking about the rewards that they make from staking on the other side for holding their ADA themselves.
Yeah, let's see. For example, Comet guys did some bonds to raise funds
Right.
for running a watcher, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is yeah, also yeah, well, interesting financial Lego, but yeah, I cannot comprehend it even, right? So well, it's I don't know. Maybe Ko was drunk just, but maybe there is some meaning, right, in such as him. Who knows? But yeah.
Let me see.
So,
He screwed up
so
too. He put like 400% interest or something, was it? Or put like 400% collateral, some ridiculous amount too.
I see. Yeah. So maybe he was drunk indeed.
Yeah, that's probably a safe guess, Kushti.
All right. So, but yeah. So then, adventures in DeFi jungle
That would
would
be
be
fun, I
proper
think. I think
name. Yeah.
I think that'd be a good video to make. Maybe I can entice somebody to do that. Adventures in DGen finance or adventures in crypto finance, financial tools, kind of a mix between the two.
Yeah,
Um,
but it's not even degen, right? Necessarily. I mean, sometimes it's definitely is, right? But sometimes, so
I
that's
mean,
just what traditional financial industry is doing, but on steroids, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, correct.
I mean, traditional financial industry spent decades on, I don't know, building derivative instruments on top of options, right? Which are
Mm,
the derivatives and so on. So decades were spent on that. And here, well, in the Ergo ecosystem, sometimes it's about weeks or days, right, to, well, build some schemes
no, that's what's amazing about
uh,
it. Yeah, crazy.
and just yeah throw them into hot water, right?
Yeah.
Basically.
Like I remember with HODLcoin, it was for Ergo Hack and Pulsar's was gave me the video to post and I edited it and put it up there. And he's like, make sure you please remove the web URL on the top because I don't want people on the site yet. And he texts me like 10 minutes after all the videos go live and he says, what the fuck? My site's being accessed. Did you remove the link? And I said, I swear I did. But apparently it was in Bruno's video. The link was to the HODLcoin. So people, he's like, there's already $20,000 in the damn thing. What the hell? So that kind of stuff's really funny, I think.
Yeah, so yeah yeah, very interesting stuff. And well yeah, well, currently it's not well observed, right?
No, it's not. Yeah.
That's my point. And yeah, then maybe it's worth to do some kind of regular video update, right? Well, maybe also with I don't know, fun backgrounds and
You know, it'd be fun. It'd be fun to do that in I think CW should bring back Hash It Out, and that should be one of the like that should be the first part of it, where they talk about all that stuff and then they hash it
oh
out
yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah, well, maybe we can use hash it out for this, and yeah, well, maybe it could be commented in sports
Yeah, yeah,
commentator
that'd be
style,
awesome.
right?
I like
uh,
it, Kushti. I like it. I'll talk to
something like
CW, see
that.
what we can do.
And yeah, so um, yeah, it was quite interesting experience to me to participate in this dev update. But yeah, probably next time the team would be different, right? Again.
I'm sure we'll find somebody in the
Uh,
ecosystem to do it. And
let's.
maybe we'll have you back for the 200th one, Kushti.
Oh, maybe Oler. I would be happy to join sometimes. Let's see.
All right, perfect. Sounds
Uh,
good.
but yeah, so for the next weekend, my plan is to do another chain cache video because, well, a lot of things changed since the Ergo Hack video, Ergo Summits, Ergo Hack.
So there'll be a new one after the Ergo Summit video.
Yeah, and it will be just kind of freestyle video, right? So not a part of any bigger event. So just yeah, free video,
Awesome.
not bound to anything.
Yep, yep, yep. Cool. Looking
All
forward to it.
right, all right,
All right. Thanks, Kushti.
all right. My pleasure.
Have a good one, everybody. Bye bye.
Have a good day. Bye.